quiet on set. All right, episode 10, hitting double digits here for the Short Track Radio podcast, and our guest this morning, I guess is when we're recording this, is Stewart Lee. Stewart drives the number 19 Dwarf car for Weston Lane, all up and down the island, and had a few AMCA races, I understand, this year. Stewart, thanks for being on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. A bit early for me after James's win, but happy to be here.
It's a bit early for me too, but we're doing it.
We have all managed to wake up and somehow are giving you some content for this week.
Waking up was the hard part.
I didn't want to go to bed, but I had to.
Yeah, you could just went right through. Well, let's start off with obviously you ran the Dwarf car for a few races this year already. Maybe a recap for some of the listeners that haven't known how your season has gone, how the first three races of the 2018 Island Dwarf Car Series has gone for you guys.
Yeah, personally it hasn't gone all that well. We started off the first race, I think qualified the worst I've ever qualified, so that wasn't fun. Got into the main event, I think lasted a lap and a half and got a flat right front, so definitely not the start we wanted, but went home and regrouped, went over the car, found some issues, made it better, and we're back where we should be now. I think we got fast time last race at Saratoga and finished third in the main. Everyone in the club stepped up like immensely. They're very fast, and it's tough racing now, so it's really fun.
Now, you obviously started running the Dwarf cars after some experience in Bombers up at Saratoga. Maybe tell us how you got involved with racing. Obviously, your dad is still involved in racing.
Yeah, I was just a little kid, just like everyone on the show, watching your dad around the racetrack, and growing up, that's all you wanted to do. So it was. I was about 15 when I got into it. My parents were split up young, so I lived in Alberta and I never had the chance to race. But came grade 10, I made the decision to move to the island with my dad and got into racing, and it's never been better. Never looked back.
So obviously your dad was running sprint cars and a few other vehicles. Now I think he's running on the dirt with the Dwarf cars.
Yeah, he ran. The last thing he raced was the winged car in the Will Rock, I think 2005. I moved back here the end of that season, and then once I started, he kind of just tapered off because he had to keep my car going around the track, and I crashed a lot, so he had to keep her going. And yeah, he's just racing a couple races a year in the dirt down in the States and having a blast with it. It's a lot to learn. It's way different than racing the asphalt, but he said he's never had more fun in a race car, so hopefully one day I can try her.
Yeah, so definitely always good to have that father figure or somebody that you can look up to in racing. Is there anyone else that you've looked up to when you were a kid watching it?
Yeah, well, mainly, like, I wasn't around a lot during all the racing seasons. I got to see 2 or 3 races a year because I was living with my mom. So, mainly my dad, but as a kid at Saratoga watching the sprint cars, there'd be Trevor Montgomery. He kicked ass all the time there. It was my favorite sprint car driver to watch. And then just my dad's close friends that I kind of grew up around. Hugh Gurney was a stock car guy, very good. The Bolios, Jason Martin was the best guy to watch in stock cars, always exciting. And yeah, just locals really.
Yeah, so maybe you're kind of the first Up Islander that we've had on, so maybe talk about the Up Island racing scene up at Saratoga and growing up with that and some of the differences between obviously Saratoga and Western.
Yeah, personally, I cannot wait to race at Saratoga. When I see that coming on the schedule, I get excited. I mean, I've driven probably more laps there than anyone in the last 15 years. I've raced everything and anything you could race. If any car's available, I'll hop in it, whether it's shitty crash to pass car, which I don't like, but I'll do it. Anything. Saratoga's fun. I find it, you got to be up on the wheel a lot more than down here at Western. It's sad to see the classes up there have faded. I mean, all for certain reasons, which I don't really want to get into. But the track itself is fun, and I feel you really got to be a good driver. And when there's an opportunity to pass, you have to pounce on it right now. There's only one real groove that's fast, and it's just fun. Down here at Western, everyone does a great job, and it's great racetrack as well. But especially in the Dwarf cars, I find it more challenging on a small track, and that's just what I like. Each to their own.
So besides the Saratoga, is there another favorite track you have, or?
I've actually only raced on 3 tracks, surprisingly. I've raced Western, Saratoga, and Penticton. And the first time I went to Penticton was last year. And we managed to do very well there. We got fast time and won both mains. And I had a blast. I mean, it's bumpy, it's short, I don't know, I just like the small tracks. This year we're going to Agassiz, and I've never been there, but I cannot wait.
That's a cool track. I've never raced on it, but I've been there before.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard lots of cool things, and it's short, so.
Right down the road from the jail, and I think there's a cemetery just past it.
Yeah, there's a cemetery, there's a shooting range. You turn onto the road, and the jail's there, and then there's the shooting range, and then the racetrack, and then the cemetery.
Yeah, keep going past the pits.
So, yeah, so it's kind of all related, kind of.
I guess so.
Yeah, it's a pretty convenient spot for all 4.
Yeah. It's not bad, I guess. Always near the racetrack.
Exactly. So, obviously, you ran... What did you run first? I think you ran Bombers up at Saratoga, right?
Yeah, when I first moved back, I knew my dad would get me into racing. He talked about it all the time when I was growing up. I probably would have started when I was 5 years old in go-karts, but I wasn't around. Too bad. I probably would have been a lot better than I am now. I started in what they called, it was a claimer car, which now is the Roadrunners. I rode my pedal bike around town through trailer parks and whatnot, looking for old cars without insurance is what my dad told me to do, and I finally found this red one. And I was like, well, that looks like a good race car. I had no idea about cars. I just grew up playing hockey. I was like, yeah, that looks like a cool race car. Rode my bike all the way home. My dad's like, well, did you ask if he wants to sell it? I was like, no. Well, go ask him. So I rode my bike all the way back across town, knocked on the door. I was like, hey, what are you doing with that car? Do you want to sell it? Yeah, $200. I was like, right on. Rode my bike back home. I was like, yeah, he'll sell it. He's like, okay, I guess I'll come and check it out. Finally drove there. He's like, oh, that's a Pontiac Ventura. He's like, that's perfect. I was like, right on. So we picked it up later that day. My dad helped me build it. We had couple guys donate materials and whatever. I think I went out my first race. It was raining. It was awful. I've practiced, but I've never practiced in the rain. So
those things have like skinny, just normal road tires, right?
Oh yeah, it was just terrible. I qualified probably slowest, finished probably last. I don't know. Try not to remember it. But I think the second race, went out there and somebody spinned me out and another guy T-boned me. And my dad he's like, do you really like this? I was like, no. He's like, we should get you a bomber car. I was like, yeah. So I had, I think, $1,500 saved up in this account my parents had for me. He's like, oh, I found one for $1,500. It's square. It'll be good, but that's all your money. I was like, yeah, buy it. So we got it, and then never looked back. I was immediately fast. I think I qualified 5th fast out of like 18 or 20 cars back then. But the fast wasn't the problem. It was racing with the other cars. I'd get flat tires every night. Just run into everything I could. So
Danica Patrick syndrome?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I probably even had long hair like her back in the day. Yeah, I don't know how my dad kept that thing turning, because there's not much adjustments. You just got to deal with tire sizes and getting a flat every night. It's pretty hard to find a street tire that's the same size every week, so I don't know.
Turned into a NASCAR pit crew there in the pits.
Yeah.
So Stu, if you were to meet someone just about to buy a car, what advice would you give them? Never raced before.
Want to get into a starter class or something?
Yeah, up island it's hard now. There's not that many starter classes. The only thing up there is Hornet cars, which it's great for young kids to get into and learn how to drive the track and whatnot. It's just like for my background, you get into a big heavy car, rear wheel drive. and you really learn how to control an old piece of crap. But I would just suggest, I love the bomber cars. I just would skip the Hornet stage personally if you had the choice. But I mean, again, it's affordability. The engines are more expensive. It's whatever you can get into. Any racing's fun, and you're going to learn a lot regardless what you do.
Would you say don't get into a non-wing sprint car right away?
Yeah, probably not the best thing. I mean, they're not. You need to have pretty good knowledge to figure out how to get those things around the track and whatnot. But each to their own, right? Some people see a race car at the track like, I want to do that. And hey, good for them if they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely more power to them. So the Bomber happened, and then what did you transition to then? Did you go to the Dwarf car after the Bomber kind of thing pitted out?
Yeah, I was actually really lucky. I had my own bomber car for a few years growing up through high school, and after I did really well. I won a few championships up there, and John Peters, a Dwarf car guy, he's originally from Nanaimo. We moved up to Campbell River, and I think he had Randy Vincent drive his car, then he asked my dad to drive it, and my old man he wasn't really into it, and he said, he's like, what about my kid? And he's like, yeah, sure, throw him in there. So no practice, nothing, just show up at the racetrack. He's like, get in there, and I was like, okay. I was actually racing two cars. I still had a bomber car. I was racing for Travis Stevenson that year, and in hot laps, I just felt like my hands were moving 1,000,000 miles an hour, just like off the corner sideways. I was like, oh no, what is going on here? But I had some pep talks from my old man and got me dialed in. I think I got second fast time that night, and I think I finished second to Dave Emerson. So that was pretty good. I had to start at the very back because I was a rookie. They have the same kind of thing as Will Rock. First three races you start at the back, so there was some slower cars between me and everyone else. But yeah, just John Peter gave me that opportunity, and I got to thank him for it. I would have never got in one, and it was just a blast.
Yeah, so maybe talk about your first time heading down to Western and experiencing the parking lot flat track for the first time.
Yeah, I actually came down here in my bomber car when I still had it one time, and it was definitely different. My dad brought me to the corner, and I think we watched some more experienced guys drive, because Saratoga, you're hugging that curb, you're on top of it. Western, you don't want to be on that curb at entry. You want to be getting to it from the center off. So it's just different. I was driving a shitty line, and it took me a little while to learn it. We did pretty good. I was racing for the lead in the bomber car, and I got spun out, but could have been my fault, could have been his fault. It's just a racing deal there. And then when I came in the Dwarf car, Mike Mears, he was really fast here, and I still didn't have it figured out. It took me probably 3 or 4 races to really figure out the proper line to drive. But it's different. It's fun. It's I don't know, it's just different.
So Stu, obviously your dad's played a huge part in your racing career. Is there anyone else that's really stepped up and taught you a lot, or is it basically just your old man?
My old man is definitely the knowledge behind all of our racing when it comes to myself, all of our friends. He's the smart guy and the brains behind it. He's definitely the one I have to thank the most. He's not always there now. He's busy. My brother's playing hockey and whatnot, but he's always one text away or whatever you need. Then growing up, when my dad's working early shift out in the bush logging, Hugh Gurney stepped up and built my whole bomber car with me. We'd be out in the shop till 3 in the morning till my dad would come out and say, get the fuck to bed. So you got school in the morning. So Hugh Gurney helped me huge build my first car and was always at the track, and now he's got 2 kids playing ball. It's just that life gets busy, so now I got Emily that helps me, and my girlfriend is just unreal. I mean, couldn't do it without her. Just everyone has those people around them to help you. You can't do it by yourself. And I just got to thank all those people. And the car owners I've driven for.
Yeah.
I've driven for myself, pretty much. My dad helped me out. Then I driven bomber car for Travis Stevenson. Won a couple championships with him. Drove for John Peters in the Dwarf car, which got me going. I actually drove for James last year.
Yeah.
It was a blast. Just everyone. You can't thank them enough. I mean, if you can't make a race, nobody needs to have their car out there. So if you get asked to drive it, that's just a privilege.
Yeah, definitely. And you've kind of made a...
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, definitely. And if somebody can't make it to a race, I think you've become one of the go-to fill-in guys. I think the AMPCA Invitational a few years ago, it was your first time back in a car in about like half a year or a year or something, and you managed to bring it home.
Yeah, actually, that's bad on my part. The last conversation I missed Matt May, I drove for him. So I got to thank him as well, and that was awesome. He put a lot of time in that car, and I just helped him set it up. So he made a deal. He was like, "Well, you should drive it." I was like, "Well, I'm not going to say no." So yeah, I think with 3 laps to go, there was a caution, and I was third. There's no way I was going to win. I was quite a ways behind. I think Mike Haslam was in second, Riley Carter in first, and we lined up on the restart. It was California style, the leaders out front, and then you go 2 wide behind that. So I started on the outside and got a good run on Hazy and was able to tuck in front of him with 2 to go. And then I think coming out of 4, I got under Riley Carter, and it was close. I think I might have jumped the curb to get under him going into 1, but for the race win, I'll take it.
Yeah, banging wheels is always kind of fun if nobody winds up on their lid or in space.
Yeah, I didn't bang his wheel. He's seen me, but I definitely try to avoid that. I don't like banging wheels and tearing shit up because I can't afford to fix it most times.
Now, obviously, with your work schedule, it's kind of tough to find time to get working on the car, which is kind of where I think your roommate or renter has come in, Weston, with this 19 car.
Yeah, it's just I built a house there a couple years ago. That's when I sold James my sprint car. Needed some extra cash, and then I was kind of out of a ride till Matt came along, and now my roommate Weston Lane, he's been a long time friend, very good friend, and he works the same kind of job I do, but he's in camp all the time, so he wanted to race a Dwarf car. He bought this car, but he's never home, so kind of made a deal. I give him a good deal on rent. I work on the car majority of the time. I mean, when he's home, he helps out, but he's not home a lot. And then he supplies the parts and the ride, and I get to have fun.
What a deal.
Yeah, great deal.
Yeah, it's very good. It's unfortunate, though. I think I'm losing that ride here pretty quick. He just got a town job, so...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go searching for a Dwarf car now.
I think so, yeah. I definitely need to get back into my own car. It's about that time. Emily's on board. I just got to find the right one to come about, and I think we'll get her.
Yeah, and definitely with the influx of people coming in, it's been kind of tough to find a car at the start of this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every car that comes up, they seem to get scooped up right away, anything that's pretty decent. And I definitely want a certain type of chassis. I've had a Peter D and a Pro, and I like the way they work. I'm definitely looking for something like that. So we'll see what happens. There was one for cheap I tried to buy. I was stuck in logging camp and I couldn't send a text out because there's no service, and someone got it. I was pretty pissed off.
Why don't you talk about your time in a Wheel Rock sprint car?
The Wheel Rock class was it's awesome. It's still good to this day. I was in the Dwarf cars, and the field wasn't anything like it was now. It was pretty much racing against Mike Mears all the time, which was fun, but I just wanted to race against some really good competition, and at the time Wheel Rock had the best drivers on the island in it. I mean, you got the Montgomerys and Haslams, and Orchard was fast. I mean, it was awesome, and that's what I want to do. I want to challenge and race against the best people. That's how you really find out what you're made of and what you can bring. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough time or money to really put into the car after I got it. My dad is busy again with my brother's sports and stuff, and he's the main reason that I'm fast all the time. I mean, driving is just a small part of it. Every race car guy knows that. You need a good car to be fast out there, and he just didn't have the time to put in it with me, and I didn't even race a full season, so I really wish I invested more time, because I think we could have been better. I think driving-wise, I could compete with some of those guys. It's just I didn't have the car figured out and dialed in enough. mean, we did all right. I think I finished 4th in the Daffodil Cup, 4th both times at Saratoga. But it's just a tough class, hard competition. It's really fun. I just wish I had a little bit more time and money to invest into it to see if I could do any better. But it was definitely a good experience, and I would have kept going at it if I didn't buy a house. But
priorities.
Yeah.
A roof over your head or a race car?
Well, I mean, the tarp can go over the race car.
Yeah, I was about to say, you can sleep in the race car.
I'm trying to convince Emily, like, we could sell the house, buy a toter home, then we could have, like, 2 or 3 race cars.
Exactly, and, you're not chained to one place. You can go wherever.
I could probably just park it in this backyard right here at James' grandparents'.
For the rest of the race season. So, Stu, you got anybody you'd like to thank sponsor-wise, Weston sponsors that help take care of the party spill and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, on our car personally, we don't really have any sponsors right now. It's sponsored by Weston Lane, so I gotta thank him huge. And I just really want to thank the racetracks on the island. I mean, lots of people take for granted that we still have these places, and it's not every day you can drive 20 minutes or 3 hours and be on a racetrack. So I got to thank these racetracks for keep going. I mean, we don't want to lose them. Taking that ferry on the mainland is expensive every week. So everyone that volunteers at the racetrack, it's just a huge family, and you got to thank everyone that's a part of it. You meet lots of friends. I met you guys. We're all pretty good friends now.
Yeah.
You just got to be thankful for what you got. You never know when your last race might be. You never know what's going to happen next. So I'm just thankful to meet all the people I've met and be involved in this sport, really.
And one last thing. What's a race car that you want to drive that you haven't got the chance to yet?
I definitely want to drive a dirt car, hands down. I mean, I love racing. Every day I get home, I look on my phone, I watch dirt highlights. I don't even think it matters what dirt car, because I'm going to crash them. So I probably
maybe a less expensive one.
Maybe a Hornet car. I don't know, but just anything on the dirt. I mean, once my dad made the transition, he said he wished he did it years ago. So it's a money thing, and again, you still want to support your local tracks because you need these tracks here. You don't want to take all your business elsewhere. So, but yeah, definitely a dirt car.
All right, we got to wrap this up because we got some serious bowling to do. So.
Definitely, it's going to get pretty intense here in a few minutes.
Yeah, Stu, we'll have you on again so we can do a little bit longer one because you got some good stories. So
sounds good. Yeah, I appreciate it. We snuck it in while we can. We've tried a few times, but it always seems the racing or some extracurricular gets in the way.
Extracurricular.
All right, you guys can find us at Short Track Radio 1 on Facebook and Instagram, and Miller Family Racing 71 on Facebook and Instagram.
This has been another edition of Short Track Radio, and tune in whenever we feel like posting again.
Bye.